Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was the dragon vessel and the neglected son of the Hokage? Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Outskirts of Konoha, the yellow flash screamed in agony, battling the greatest foe he's ever faced. He knew without a shadow of doubt he would not survive, but in order to ensure his children's future he had no choice. "Ah, Kushina," cried Minato, as his birthing wife had his hand in a death grip. "Off Minato, I swear you are never going to lay hand on me again," his wife screamed, in rage and agony as the first of her babies started to come out. "Be a man Minato, you would have died long ago if you were in her shoes, but not us women, unlike men, were strong." Bawako told the Yondaime, giving him a look of disapproval. Looking back down she can see bit of yellow, red and orange. "I can see the head just a little more Kushina. Push," she screamed and as told Kushina pushed with all her strength, eager to get this hell over with. "Ah," she screamed one last time before, a look of almost pure bliss and relief crossed her face. "Oh thank Kami-sama it's over," she almost cried in happiness. Bawako put the baby to one side, before she came back to attending Kushina. "Now for the other two." Crack, went Minato's hand. "OFCKKKKK. Minato you are so dead. How dare you do this to me?" After another few minutes of death threats made in the thorns of pain, Kushina finally gave birth to her 3 beautiful children. Bawako scooped up the children who were wrapped in blankets. Bringing them over to their mother, Minato went up to retrieve his children. Bawako pulled the children away from him. "Oh no you don't, Ka-san's first 2-san's second." She glared at the Hokage, who only sagged in depression. "Damn right, after what I just went through, I get first dibs." The redhead shouted, glaring at the man that put her through that pain and was formulating a plan to get back at him. But all thoughts of Minato's punishment left her mind for now anyway as her 3 wonderful babies were given to her. "This one's the oldest," Bawako told her, handing her the one wrapped in orange blanket. She almost squealed as she saw the yellow hair of the boy's father and open deep blue eyes looking at her. The boy gurgled happily as his eyes saw his mother for the first time. Kushina touched the boy's cheeks. He grabbed onto it, chewing it a bit as Kushina pulled him closer. When he saw her crimson hair he grabbed on it, tugging at it slightly. She knew the perfect name for her oldest. "Hello Naruto-chan." The baby looked at her as if he recognized that was now his name. Bawako handed her the second child. Unlike her brother, she was sleeping peacefully, though she would release a small whine every now and then as she moved, not wanting to wake up. The girl had crimson hair like her mother, but her face was mixture of both hers and Minato's. Her eyes were sharper than Naruto's, but not by much, and though her face was round there was a slight sharpness to it. Kushina knew that she would become quite the looker when she grew up and that she would have a hell of a job keeping the boys away from her daughter. "Akami," she named her child, hugging her closer. The girl whined a bit as she started to wake up, but Naruto moved closer, interested in his Imouto. He hugged the girl who calmed down in her Oni-san's arms. Naru-chan's already acting like a big brother. She watched as Naruto curiosity inspected her daughter gently, who was leaning on him as she slept. She looked at Bawako who handed her last child. "And here's your youngest," she stated, handing a crying baby. Kushina smiled, trying to calm down her other son. She smiled seeing him look almost an exact replica of his Oni-san. But he shared the crimson hair of her and his Nei-chan. That was flat instead of spiky. She had the perfect name for him. Menma. The boy was a lot more timid than his older siblings. He was bawling his eyes out as Kushina rocked him up and down. However, this caused her daughter to whine as she was once again woken up by the turbulence. Naruto solved this problem by reaching out for his Ototo, who clung to him and buried himself within his Oni-san, just like his Oni-san was doing. Kushina could only smile at seeing her children huddled together around her oldest in the center. She just knew they were going to be the best of siblings and that by the looks of it Naruto will be looking after his Imouto and Ototo. Minato had the same thoughts as he looked at his wife, holding their children. The peaceful time was interrupted though when, "Ah!" Kushina screamed, as pain came from the seal, earning a duo of cries and a whimper from Naruto. "Shit, the seal. I forgot about it." Minato cursed as he rushed and put his hands back on, trying to repair it before it breaks. Everyone was so lost in the new family coming together for the first time they forgot about the fox sealed in Kushina's gut. "Don't worry Kushina, I'll have him sealed back in a bit." Minato smiled, a drop of sweat coming down his brow as he struggled. Damn it, the seal almost broken, the Kyuubi could be released any time now. He looked back at his family, seeing Bawako taking the children to safety. With the resolve to protect those precious to him, he doubled his efforts. Ah! Turning to the source of the scream, the Yondaime Hokage's heart stopped. Standing over Bawako's body and two of his newborn children was a cloaked man in a yellow mask with a flame pattern on it. In the arms of the intruder was Naruto, a hand hovering over him threateningly as he whimpered and struggled not to cry. "Step away from the Jinchuriki or this child will die in his first minute." "Naruto!" Both the blonde boy's parents yelled, their son was in danger. "What are we going to do? We can't hand Kushina over to him, he's surely after the Kyuubi," was Minato's thoughts. "I have no choice but to give myself up, our children's safety comes first." Deciding on her plan of action, Kushina began to speak when a miracle happened. Naruto was struggling in the man's arms. He didn't like this scary man and would much rather be back in the arms of that red-haired woman. But at last, no matter how much the newborn struggled, he couldn't get free. Giving a cross between a glare and pout, Naruto's baby blue eyes focused on the black hole in the man's mask. He didn't know what it was, so he did the most obvious thing to do when a baby is curious. He poked his finger in the hole. "Fuck, you little brat," the man cursed, dropping the baby that almost poked his eye out. Naruto was laughing as he watched the man, trying to make his eye stop hurting. The man's watery Sharingan eye looked ahead, only to catch the fuzzy shape of the yellow flash charging at him with a Rasengan in one hand and his recently held hostage in the other. "Shit," he swore again, struggling through the pain to activate his eye's power. As the Rasengan hit him, Minato watched in shock as the man walked right through him. Stopping before he hit the wall, Minato turned to see the masked villain making his way to his wife. But before he could act and save her, a sizzling sound reached his ears. With a panicked look, Minato looked down at his son in his arms, an active paper bomb attached to the boy's blanket. In the span of a second, Minato's eyes looked over to Kushina and then to his other children still crying on the floor. Damn, not enough time to save them all. Before another second could pass, he disappeared in a flash of yellow, the other two defenseless children safe from the bomb, but all alone with no one to protect them. 10 minutes late, Minato put down Kushina and their other children in the same bed that was currently occupied by Naruto. It was a struggle rescuing them, and the Kyuubi was now on the loss, but he would take care of that soon, though it would require him to make two big sacrifices. "Kushina-chan," he whispered to his weakened wife. "Minato-kun, the village, it needs you, take me with you, and I'll see the fox back inside myself." Kushina breathed out. The Hokage shook his head in refusal. "I'm sorry Kushina, but I can't do that. If you seal the Kyuubi inside of you in the state you're in, you'll die." His wife was angry at his refusal for the best plan they had. Minato stopped his wife. "I already have a plan." He gave a sad look to their children who were now snuggling into their mother. Kushina, seeing his gaze, looked at the man with disapproval and anger. "Minato, you can't. Not our children," she shouted, but she was too weak to stop him as he took their children from her grasp. "I'm sorry Kushina, but it's the only way. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll be fine without me." He whispered, a tear in his eye. Kushina reached out with all the strength she could muster, but her husband and children disappeared in a yellow flash, leaving the soon-to-be grieving widow alone in tears. Minato reappeared near the front lines, biting his thumb and making hand seals. He jumped into the air above the fox and shouted, "Kuchio's no jutsu." Summoning jutsu, a giant web of seal formulas appeared below him, and in a poof of smoke, the chief toad landed right on top of the fox, restricting its movements. Jumping down in front of the two great beasts, Minato summoned an altar, placing his 3 children on it. The Sandaime looked at the altar. "That's... No, Minato, you can't." In a flash of speed, the Sandaime was gone. Minato looked at his children for what would be the last time. He's only known them for a few minutes at the most, but he already loved them dearly. The Hokage was burdened with a heavy heart, having to leave his children without a father, but it had to be done to save them and the women he loved. "Naruto, Akami, Menma, take care of each other and please look after your Ka-san for me, okay?" he told them tearily, but Naruto was the only one awake. "I'm sorry for what I'm about to do, but remember To-san loves you very much, goodbye." There were so many more things he wanted to say, but he didn't have the time. Any second the fox would break free from Gamabunta's hold. He made the hand signs for the Shiki Fujin sealing jutsu, Reaper Death Seal, prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice, to protect his home, his village, and most importantly his family. But before he could finish and summon the Shinigami, his world went black as something struck him in the back of the head. Hiruzen looked at his successor. "I'm sorry, Minato, but it's the duty of the old generation to pave the path for the new." With that thought, he performed the Shiki Fujin. A large translucent figure emerged behind him. Demonic purple skin covered its inhuman body, a white robe draped over it. Its golden eyes looked at the fox in interest. In its mouth was small Tonto. He had white shaggy hair with 2 blood-red demon horn protruding from his head. As the death god began the ritual to seal the Kyuubi, a small vortex appeared in the sky, approved them. As the death god hand ripped through Sandaime Hokage's soul and then through his armor, leaving a hole where his stomach was, but no physical wound. Lights came through the vortex, dropping slowly down to the land below them. The Shinigami's translucent hand clung to the Kyuubi, and with a mighty push from Hiruzen the beast's soul was ripped in half. The old man watched as the beast's yin chakra was torn from it and it decreased to a half of its former size. The man's eyes landed on the red-headed boy. Out of the 3 children before him, with a quick apology, he ordered the Shinigami to seal the chakra within the boy. As the soul was sealed away, the lights from the vortex increased in number. Lights of different colors congregated to their respective color, forming the shapes of red, sliver, green, black and white dragons. Too busy to notice the dying Hokage ordered the god behind him to seal the yang chakra away. He chose the girl that had Kushina red hair before the 8 trigrams seal finished forming on the boy to her far right. The rest of the Kyuubi vanished as it was pulled into the girl. A red light swirled around her abdomen before it settled into the 8 trigrams seal. Before the Reaper could take his soul, however, the god looked up to see the glowing lights of 5 souls. Within accordance of his contract, his hand reached out to claim the souls of deceased dragons as payment for his services. Feeling the Shinigami move against his will, he watched as the hand grabbed the struggling specters of lights that were in the air. Having no idea what the lights were, he ordered the great deity of death to stop, but at last it no longer listened to his commands. Unaware what the lights the Reaper had were, he had no choice but to stop whatever the deity was doing. He looked to the last boy, the one that was spared the Kyuubi's burden. "Sorry, I don't know what he's doing. Hopefully whatever that light is, it won't cause you trouble." Focusing his mind, he formed a hand seal and ordered the death god to seal the light it now held. The deity was grinning sinisterly as it prepared to devour the exceptional souls before him as payment for his summons. But his grin turned into a scowl as his summoner ordered him to seal his prey into the remaining child. Unable to violate the terms of contract that were set upon his summoning, he reluctantly let go of the souls he held and sealed them into the last child. Turning to the one who ruined his meal, intent on enjoying devouring the soul of the one who caused him to lose such delicacies. The Sandaime watched as the pissed-off death god approached him. Feeling his soul torn asunder, casting his gaze on the child whose seal was now forming. He had no idea what he sealed and only hoped it wouldn't cause the boy pain as he passed to the next world. Mount Myoboku, the millennium-old toad sage, opened his ancient eyes having dreamt a new prophecy about the child of prophecy. With his gravelly voice, he spoke of what he saw. A new entity will be born on par with the 9. One will be burdened with this new beast, that came from others. They will experience great pain and suffering, losing those that should love them most. 2 paths will open for the child of prophecy, born from the blood of your student. If guided by love, the child will become the dragon of salvation that will protect the world in its time of need. If it loses that love, they shall fall to ruin, leading themselves and the world to its end, becoming the dragon of destruction. Their union will bring new hope, or despair. If the child loses his light, darkness awaits those who took their beloved away. In a void of darkness rested a cage. Within that cage was a rainbow-colored orb. "What happened?" came a somewhat female voice, with what seemed like a mixture of others. "I don't know," replied a metallic voice. Like the one before, it sounded like multiple voices were playing in the background as it spoke. Then, "Where are we?" came an aged, but almost lighter voice being heard over the multitude of others. Could this be the afterlife? This was another aged voice, but with a slightly deeper tone, being hard than most. "Quiet," shouted an almost angered voice that carried power, almost completely overpowering the mixture of voices the others shared. "This is far from what we expected to happen, but this is definitely not a bad thing," the same voice spoke to his companies. "For now, whatever is happening, let's observe. Whatever this cage is, it's keeping us alive somewhat, and I can feel an abundance of some form of energy in the air. For now, let's rest and stabilize our existence." He told his plan of action. All the other voices slightly agreed and went silent as they entered an almost dormant state. Author's note: there you go, tell me what you think. I tried to keep it short since I'm sure all of us have read Naruto's birth story to death with these kind of fics. Especially want to know what you think about the prophecy I made. I've been wanting to do a neglect fic for a long time now, and this offered a good opportunity to do so. For those that don't know, Akami, Naruto's sister, means aka red, and shortened Umi, sea ocean. The name is a reference to both Kushina and Minato. Kushina for her red hair and Minato because his name means port. The challenge is below. It's not a detailed challenge though. The dragon container. And crossover between Fairy Tail and Naruto, only a little part. If you had also saw Fairy Tail, at the end of the Tartarus saga we saw how all the dragons disappeared in the air. But what if in that moment happened the Kyuubi attack and the sealing with Kurama been sealed inside Naruto's sister and the essence of all the dragons inside Naruto, that has as result that a new more powerful dragon is born from the union of all the others dragons inside Naruto. It will be a neglected story. You can made that instead of the Sage mode Naruto use the Dragon Force. Even if the dragons come from the Fairy Tail universe, the events will happen in Naruto universe with only Naruto's characters. IPM further and ironed out the challenge a bit. Requirements. 1. Both of Naruto's parents must be alive. Kushina must have had triplets. What Naruto's siblings' gender are up to you. Naruto will have all the dragons sealed inside him. You can either have all of them sealed inside him as separate beings, or you can have them all merge into one. Naruto's siblings will have the Kyuubi sealed inside them. As the triplets grow older, Naruto is slowly pushed out of the family in favor of his parents training his siblings. Pairing must be Naruhina no harems, but all other pairings are up to you. Note only the characters will appear from Fairy Tail universe, but the story itself will only take place in the Naruto universe. For more challenges or adoptions, please visit my forums. I also have recommendations on my profile. Also please take a look at Akuma Uzumaki, Naruto x Hinata falling for the Lavender Beauty. She didn't know how to do the pairing yet, so it isn't tagged, but hopefully I've helped her with that. Minato was fighting off the most powerful enemy up to date. It was invincible. It was the most terrifying thing known to man. The dreaded paperwork. I helped defeat a giant chakra beast of mass destruction, and in the end all I get for it is damn paperwork. Damn you Sarutobi, you knew this would happen. He cursed, as he glared at his arch-enemy, which only got larger by the minute. Oh, come on, I've already pulled all-nighters for 3 days straight. I haven't gotten a chance to even see my family. A small smile appeared, banishing the hopeless situation he was in, his beautiful wife, his lovely children. But then he remembered that his wife was currently pissed at him for his attempted self-sacrifice, and he shivered as the image of his enraged wife came to mind. He quickly picked up the nearest document and began working. Paperwork's not all bad. By the time it's done, Kushina-chan will have calmed down enough not to kill me, probable. Bang! Came from the door. Minato, we got a major problem, shouted a familiar voice. Looking up he saw his sensei Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sensei, what do I owe the pleasure? For once you got here before complaints from the hot springs came in. He joked. I came right here. Unfortunately my precious hot springs were destroyed in the attack. He cried anime tears, before shaking himself straight. No time for that, he stated, the seriousness in his voice causing Minato listen carefully to his sensei. The great Toad Sage has had a prophecy and it concerns your children. That caught Minato's attention. What do you mean it involves my children? He and his family only just survived by some miracle and now his family is in trouble once more. Calm down Minato, we'll keep them safe. He made a hand sign activating a silencing seal, before pulling a piece of paper out of his pocket. Here's the prophecy. The sage began reading line for line what was on his piece of paper. A new entity will be born on par with the 9. One will be burdened with this new beast, that came from others. They will experience great pain and suffering, losing those that should love them most. 2 paths will open for the child of prophecy, born from the blood of your student. If guided by love, the child will become the dragon of salvation that will protect the world in its time of need. If it loses that love, they shall fall to ruin, leading themselves and the world to its end, becoming the dragon of destruction. Their union will bring new hope, or despair. If the child loses his light, darkness awaits those who took their beloved away. Jiraiya looked at Minato, his black eyes gazing into his student's blue orbs. It's hard to decipher, but several things are clear. The child of prophecy is one of your children. They will experience great pain if we don't do something, and they could very well end up dying and dooming the rest of the world along with them. He put the paper down on the desk for Minato to inspect at his leisure. He didn't want to believe in some prophecy, but there was one thing that made it creditable. First, we need to figure out what this new entity is. By the 9 we can be assured that it's referring to the Biju, but for something to be on par with them is almost unbelievable. I wouldn't be so sure of that, Minato commented, catching his sensei's attention. It would make sense if this new entity was another Biju. He told his sensei hesitantly, afraid what this prophecy could mean for his children. What do you mean Minato? There were only 9 Biju last time I checked. Jiraiya was still mostly unaware of the whole Biju attack, but was informed of his sensei passing. But he had a duty as Minato's sensei and to the man's children as their godfather to keep them safe. Not anymore. He took a breath. Sandaime-sama split the fox in 2 before sealing it away. There are now 2 Kyubis. He dropped the bombshell and realization hit the sage. That's it. Out of the 9 Biju, the Kyubi possesses the most chakra and strongest healing factor. He may not share the special abilities all the other beasts have, but even only at half strength, is more than a match for any of the other 9, and it came from the other Biju. With it being sealed into one of your children, all the conditions for the 2 lines are met. The legendary ninja stated. Jiraiya, are you sure it's accurate? I mean, it came from an old toad who is senile. Minato argued. He didn't want to believe the prophecy, and he's met the toad sage before and it was obvious the toad was way past his prime. Minato, this was predicated during the Kyubi's attack. The old toad may be senile, but that hasn't affected his powers. We can't ignore it, especially with what it says about your children. Minato's eyes landed on the next line. they will experience great pain and suffering, losing those that should love them most. But what does that mean? Minato asked, and Jiraiya gave him a look of pity. It's obvious. Who would he lose that love him most? It's obvious. It means, your family. Minato's eyes went wide at that. Shock and panic filled his eyes. Calm down, kid. Well, stop it no matter what, but first we need to figure out the rest. The next line speaks for itself, it's the ones after we have a problem with. Calming down, Minato looked at the paper seriously. He wouldn't take the chances of losing his family. He read the rest of the prophecy. If guided by love, the child will become the dragon of salvation that will protect the world in its time of need. If it loses that love, they shall fall to ruin, leading themselves and the world to its end, becoming the dragon of destruction. What about those two lines, dragons? They're just legends. Minato spoke. Dragons didn't make sense. They haven't been heard of in thousands of years. Dragons are known widely as deities of destruction or protection. It's most likely a reference to what the child of prophecy could become. We need to make sure that he goes down the right path. Jiraiya stated, and Minato agreed. He read the last part. Their union will bring new hope, or despair if the child loses their light. Darkness awaits those who took their beloved away. That last one is the hardest. It's most likely refers to the Kyuubi being bound and controlled by your child, or the two children fighting together. But if one of them loses this light, which can assume is a person they care deeply for, they will go down the path of revenge and darkness. Jiraiya spoke up. They had all the lines deciphered now, or at least understood it enough to make sure the child of prophecy saves the world. So, what are we going to do? How can we save my family and children? Minato pleaded with his sensei for answers. Only one thing we can do is prepare them. As soon as they're old enough, we'll start training the ones with the Kyuubi. Do you have any idea which one could be the child of prophecy? The nod of no he received was not what he wanted. Then we'll train both of them and make sure they can fight side by side with one another, as well as make sure they can control the Kyuubi. Minato nodded, agreeing with his sensei's plan. He would do anything to save his family. Kushina was busy recovering. Tsunade was helping. With the children having come to visit and help out, she quickly fell in love with her godchildren and has even decided to stay in the village permanently. She looked at her triplets playing around on the floor. When she found out about the seals, she was terrified of how they would be treated, and although the village was at first skeptical, thanks to the help Minato and herself, they quickly came around and were warming up to the twins that held Kyuubi and treating them as the heroes they were for their sacrifice. She giggled as she watched Naruto play with Akami, knocking her over. All of her children held different personalities. Naruto was most like her, always moving and playing around, taking the initiative. Akami was more like Minato. She still played with Naruto, but she was quieter and calmer until something got her hyped up. Menma was quietest and most like Minato. He would play on his own and was a bit shy. It reminded her of when Minato used to watch her from afar and would turn away in embarrassment whenever she got close. However, she didn't need to worry about him being antisocial, as Naruto tackled his Ototo, gently coaxing him into joining the other two in play. Her Naru-chan was such a considerate Oni-san. He would always go that extra mile to make sure Menma joined them to play, bring the boy out of his shell a bit. She just knew Naruto would stand by his siblings and protect them. Over 2 years later, the day before the triplets' 3rd birthday, Naruto and his siblings were sitting down on the settee. He sat in between his 2 siblings. Naruto was excited. Tomorrow marked the official start of his ninja training, and then he could start on his dream to become Hokage like his dad. His Ka-san and Tu-san came in and sat down. They seemed to have a serious look on their faces. Once sat down, Minato gave a heavy sigh. There's something very important we need to tell you. He waited until he had their undivided attention before continuing. You all know the story of Sandaime defeating the Kyuubi, don't you? They just nodded. How the Sandaime saved their Tu-san was one of their favorite bedtime stories. What I'm about to tell you is how he defeated it. Minato went on to explain how Menma and Akami had a half of the Kyuubi each inside them. Kushina had to stop herself from going over and hugging them. Menma was almost in tears now that he was told, thinking that he was the fox. Naruto just calmly listened and then looked at his two siblings who were about to cry. Looking at his Ototo, he leaned close and poked Menma's stomach, tickling him and causing the almost crying boy to laugh as Naruto kept doing it. "Oni-san, stop, that tickles." Menma laughed. "What, I'm just petting the fox." Naruto grinned before he turned to Akami with an evil grin. Akami backed away from her Oni-san in fear. "No, Oni-san, don't you dare." Naruto pounced on her and started tickling her too. "Ah, no, stop. Menma Ototo, help." Menma latched on to his Oni from behind, tickling him. Soon his Oni-chan joined in and together they defeated their evil Oni. Kushina and Minato could only join the laughter as the children had their tickle war. Once everyone calmed down, Minato ruffled Naruto's hair affectionately. "Good job, kiddo. Of course, I'm the Oni, I'll always protect my Imouto and Ototo." Naruto grinned ear to ear. Both parents knew they could believe in those words and they both felt a pang of guilt, knowing how much he's been looking forward to tomorrow. "Naruto, we also have something important to tell you." The young boy looked into his two San's eyes with excitement, causing the man to grimace somewhat. "You know what day it is tomorrow, right?" he asked, and the boy jumped up and loudly exclaimed. "Yep, it's the 3rd anniversary of the Kyuubi defeated and the festival of the Sandaime Hokage. Festival of the 3rd Fire Shadow, but more importantly, it's our 3rd birthday and the day we start our ninja training. Just wait, I'm going to be Hokage before you know it," he shouted, grinning from ear to ear. "No way, I'm going to be Hokage, Naruto Oni-san," stated his smooth red-headed look-alike. Menma was smiling at his Oni and the parents watched the sibling rivalry, before the talk turned for the worse. Te Menma Ototo, you always copy Oni-san, don't you?" giggled the middle child Akane. Both she and Menma looked up to their Oni-san as their role model. But Menma was the one who tried to emulate him the most, down to his PJs, morning routine and of course his dream. "Menma Ototo, it's so cute seeing you and Oni-san together, you look so alike and act the same." She knew that the main reason Menma was so attached to his Oni was because unlike the two of them he was the shyest of the children and had a hard time coming out of his shell. "But Oni-san always helps you out." "No, I don't. If anything, he's copying me." The red-haired boy pouted, arms crossed, a slight blush on his face. Seeing his Ototo's embarrassment, Naruto got a foxy grin. "Imouto, don't tease him, after all, why wouldn't he want to copy this superstar?" he exclaimed, pointing to himself and showing his 3-year-old muscles. There was silence as the younger duo of the triplets looked at their Oni. Both picked up the close pillow and threw it at their boasting big brother. Pillow fight. The two siblings once again ganged up on their big brother. Minato giggled at the sight before he clapped both hands together. "Clap. All right, that's enough," he shouted. The triplets immediately stopped. Nobody moved until one pillow that was still in the air came down on Naruto, who glared at the perpetrator. Minato followed, glaring at his feathered-covered wife who snuck her way into the fight when it started. Kushina tried to look innocent, but her husband's glare continued, until she pouted and took her spot by his side. Seeing how happy they all were just made it harder for parents. "Yes, tomorrow Akami and Menma will start their training." "Hell yeah," Menma shouted, excited like his Oni normally would be. But his Oni and Oni-san realized the absence of a certain name. "2-san, what about Oni-san, won't he be training with us?" Akami questioned, a frown marring her pretty face. Naruto looked at his parents in surprise, hurt and betrayal, which felt like a knife to the heart of both his 2-san and Ka-san. "Yes, about that, you see, we want to make sure Menma and Akami can control their tenants before you join. We don't want you accidentally getting hurt, right?" Minato told them with sadness. His sensei was the one to recommend it, but it didn't make it feel any less wrong. "Minato, we need to make sure both Menma and Akami are strong and work well together. I know it's hard, but I think we should have Naruto left out of the training at first," his sensei stated. "What, but why?" Minato pleaded, not wanting to push aside his own child. Don't worry, you can get back to him after a year or so once the twins have started getting the hang of the Kyuubi. We need to do this, Minato, to prevent the prophecy, and we don't want either of them hurting Naruto by accident, do we? Menma is slower and has confidence problems. He could end up getting jealous when both his Oni and Oni are ahead of him, and if Naruto and Akami get closer it could put a bigger strain on their relationship. As the conversation he had with his sensei came to mind and he faced his Masuko's hurt look, he reminded himself that it was all for the greater good. It's only for a year, we'll get back and make it all up to Naruto once the two are up to speed. He told himself, but he was still pushing his oldest away even more. Don't worry, Naru-chan, we'll get back to you next year when the two get up to speed, I promise. And Uzumaki never goes back on their word. His wife consulted their oldest, with a hug. Naruto looked up and asked, his voice slightly broken. It's to make sure Imouto and Ototo are okay, right? He asked, eyes sparkling with unshed tears. Yeah, don't worry, once they're up to speed you can join us again. Minato told him, putting a hand on his shoulder. Then I'll do it, next year I'll catch up and be Hokage before you know it. Naruto shouted, faking being strong to protect his siblings. Both his younger siblings gave a small smile. No way, Oni-san, by the time you join I'll already be Hokage. Menma boosted, still copying his beloved Oni. Yeah, you better catch up, training would be boring without our favorite knucklehead to liven things up. Akami joked, causing a moan of protest from her brother. Hey, Minato and Kushina could only watch, hoping they made the right choice. They were happy Naruto didn't seem to mind. Or at least as far as they could tell, as the boy put on a brave face for his loved ones. The next day, October 10th, Naruto watched as his godfather ignored him, handing presents filled with ninja equipment to his siblings. But it wasn't just him, everyone gave presents to only his Imouto and Ototo, all ninja equipment. He watched from afar as Menma and Akami opened their presents, showing off their new practice kunai and shuriken as well as their training outfits. He looked at his own presents, sat in a corner all on his own. They were few in number, since most of the family, friends in the village seemed to treat his siblings better than him. But his parents brought a shirt, books and ramen. They were small compared to his siblings' piles of presents, but at least he wasn't completely left out. As his parents brought the birthday cake, a lone tear dripped down his cheeks. He didn't like being excluded, he hated it. The village ignored him in favor of his siblings, treating them like heroes. He knows now why. They kept the monstrous Kyuubi at bay since their birth. The boy turned and went to his room, not being able to stand seeing his siblings celebrating and showing off their new training gear. If being excluded was what he had to do to keep his younger siblings safe, then he would do it gladly. After all, he was their Oni-san, the oldest. It was his duty to look after his beloved Imouto and Ototo, protect them and keeping them from harm. After all, we are family, and an Uzumaki always stands by their family. He recited one of the Uzumaki clan's creeds. His Ka-san made sure him and his siblings knew the importance of family. He took that to heart and always made sure his siblings were safe and never showed how much he was truly hurt on the inside. He loved his family more than anything in the world, and that would be his greatest undoing. While the birthday cake was brought out, no one noticed that one of the birthday children wasn't there. They don't notice his absence as Menma and Akami blew out the candles. Nor did they notice that the part of the cake with that boy's name was the first to be cut and shared, leaving the cake with the icing that spelled out, "Happy Birthday Akami, Menma _." The name of the forgotten child was just cut off, forgotten for the first time as the rest of the family celebrated. Naruto went straight to sleep, eager to start the new day. Just 1 year and then we can all celebrate together again. Hinata was having a wonderful day. Her mother finally took her to the park to play with other children. She was so looking forward to it. As heiress, she wasn't allowed to play with the other children in the Hyuga compound. It was frowned upon for the heiress to associate with those beneath her. But her mother was finally able to sneak her out to play in the park. She was so excited to play with other children, Unfortunately that's not what happened. Hey freak, get lost. We don't want your white-eyed freaks playing with us. A 5-year-old boy pushed Hinata to the ground, hurting her. Yeah, your clan thinks you're all high and mighty, but I got news for you, you're not. Another boy shouted, grabbing Hinata by the hair, causing her to cry. Ka-chan, she cried, hoping her mother would save her. Ah, would you look at that? The Byakugan monster is calling for her monster Ka-san, what a cry-baby. He went to punch Hinata, but before he could, a fist came out of nowhere, knocking him back. Blue eyes glared at the three bullies. Boys shouldn't pick on girls, you big bullies. Hinata looked at her savior to see a boy about her age, bright blonde hair and an orange shirt with a red spiral on the back. Who do you think you are, you shrimp? Shouted one of the bullies to her savior. Me, I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, future Hokage. He exclaimed. Liar. Hokage-sama only has 2 children and they're both redheads. Shouted one of the bullies. Naruto flinched at that. He knew that his Ototo and Imouto were the most well-known children, but it still hurt. I am to his son. Naruto shouted with pride. Hinata looked at her savior as he shouted. Oh really? Well then, we'll have to teach you not to lie about our Hokage, get him? One of the bullies exclaimed. Hinata watched in admiration as the boy who rescued her didn't back down. Bring it, I'll teach you not to pick on girls. One of the bullies charged, but Naruto weaved under his punch and threw an uppercut to the cheek. The bully staggered back, but Naruto wasn't strong enough to do more. One of the other bullies came and punched Naruto in the face. It looked like he was going to fall, but just before he did, he regained his balance. Naruto ran right at the boy, jumping in the air and counter-attacking with a punch to the face, sending the boy to the ground. Naruto landed on the boy and started punching him repeatedly until he bled. Shocked from getting their asses kicked by a 3-year-old, the 2 remaining bullies watched as their friend got beaten. When they finally came to, they charged and an all-out brawl ensued. Hinata watched in admiration, grimacing at the sight of blood and every hit her savior took. What she was seeing wasn't the sparring matches she was used to, but a straight-up fight where they tried to hurt each other as much as possible. There was no style, no rules, no safety measures, just children trying to kill each other. But she watched mesmerized, her pale lavender eyes focused solely on her savior. He was her age and size, but he was holding his own against the 3 5-year-olds. He was at a disadvantage, he was bruised and bleeding, fighting 3 against 1. But no matter how hard they hit him, he just wouldn't fall. Every time it looked like he was about to fall, he would stop himself by sheer force of will and then launch at his opponent, getting as many hits as he could in. He was like an unstoppable force. No matter how much they hit him, he just kept going back for more. Despite how much pain he was surely in, he didn't stop. He kept protecting her despite the pain, and that meant so much to Hinata. No one has ever gone so far for her before. The bullies were shitting themselves. Sure, they were almost double the boy's age, were bigger and stronger, and had him outnumbered. But no matter how much they hit him, the damn freak wouldn't go down. Every time it looked like they won, the brat would charge at one of them, attacking them wildly until they could get him. He just ignored most of the hits they inflicted and kept attacking. And to the bullies, who were used to beating everyone else easily, having someone that just won't go down was terrifying. You monster, just stay down already. One of them roared. The fight continued for a few minutes until the bullies started to wear down from Naruto's consent charges. The psychological damage done by the fact that he kept coming and coming, added to their own injuries, caused them to flee in terror from the monster. He's a monster, they shouted as they fled. Hinata looked at her blonde savior. He looked to her, he was breathing heavily and bruised all over. His blue orbs looked at her and she felt a warmth spread through as her heart and pulse quickened and she felt all fuzzy inside. What's happening to me? Oni-san, shouted a duo of voices as 2 redheads showed up. What happened? asked a girl with long red hair that went down her back and violet eyes. She wore a purple training outfit with red on the trims and a red spiral on the back. Are you, alright? Stuttered the boy. He looked like an exact replica of the boy who saved her, but his hair was flat and smooth instead of spiky, more like her own. He also had violet eyes, but there was a tint of blue in them, making them look darker. Ototo, Imouto, I'm fine, just a fight. Naruto smiled, his bruised and bloodied face on display. You don't look fine. Once I get my hands on the ones who did this to my Oni Akami went off, causing her two brothers to move back. It was scary how she acted so much like their two-san 1 minute and then became like their Ka-chan when enraged. Oni-chan, Menma whispered, causing the girl to calm down. Damn it Naruto Oni-san, what were you thinking getting into a fight? You haven't started training yet, she admonished. Naruto just smiled. Well, I had to save this girl and besides, I won. He laughed. You won, but what would have happened if you didn't and we didn't make it in time? She said as she turned her eyes to the young Hyuga. Hinata jumped as violet eyes landed on her. She started to squirm as the other boy looked her way too and all eyes were on hers. Menma blushed as he caught sight of her. She's so beautiful. He thought in a trance, feeling so embarrassed. Naruto paced his siblings and made his way to the Hyuga. Thump, 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 went Hinata's heart as the boy approached her step by step. Thump, 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 it got faster as he got closer. Naruto lowered himself down until sapphire blue met lavender. Hinata felt heat rush to her face as a fuzzy feeling overcame her and she blushed. Hey, are you alright? Naruto whispered gently. His voice was so kind, so soothing, that Hinata just got lost in it and could only dumbly nod as she admired the handsome boy in front of her. Good, he whispered. A hand gently reached out and patted her ruined hair down. Hinata almost let out a hum of approval as she felt the boy's fingers stroke her hair lovingly. A pretty girl like you shouldn't cry. Hinata blushed, disappointed when his hand left her head. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, he smiled and then pointed to the girl. And that's my Imouto. Hinata followed Naruto's finger like she was in a trance at the boy in front of her every beck and call. Her eyes landed on the red-haired girl, who greeted her with a nod. I'm Akami Uzumaki Namikaze. Sorry about that, Oni-san can be a handful at times. She smiled, Hinata just nodded back, still in her daze. She followed Naruto's hand as it pointed at the boy on instinct. And that's my Ototo-me, he stated, but was cut off as the boy tried to introduce himself, emphasis on tired. Me Menma, Uzumaki, na Namikaze, the red-headed boy that looked like a copy of her savior stuttered, madly blushing. He was belittling himself for stuttering and was extremely jealous of his Oni-san for being so close and touching her silky blue hair. Naruto looked back at the girl. And you? He asked, his bright blue eyes sparkling. Hi Hinata Hyuga, Hinata squeaked back, blushing a great shade of red like Menma did before. Naruto just gave her smile that took her breath away, holding out his hand. So, would you like to play with us? Hinata was in pure and utter bliss, plain and simple. Not only did this kind, gentle, wonderful boy save her, but he was offering to let her play with them, which was something she always wanted to do. She took his hand slowly. She basked in how warm and soft it felt and allowed Naruto to pull her up. When Naruto started leading her away, she followed like a lost puppy who just found her new owner. What followed was the best times of her life. Naruto-kun was so kind and caring. He made sure she was involved with everything and he would always smile at her in that special way that got her heart pumping. When she failed, he didn't insult her, or tell her to go away. He only encouraged her to do better. Naruto came over to her, causing Hinata to panic. He stepped behind her, taking both of Hinata's hand in his as she held the ball. You need to push like so. He whispered in her ear. She could feel the breath go down her neck, giving her a pleasurable shiver. The warmth of his body that she just leaned into as he stood behind her, the feeling of his hands over hers. She loved it. She relished contact with him. She never felt anything so amazing as what she felt when she was around her Naruto-kun. Menma just watched the two as they went on in their own little world as Naruto helped Hinata with how to throw the ball. His eyes blazed green and his teeth clenched, grinding in jealousy. I wish I was the one. Hinata-chan was all over. For the first time, Menma could say he hated and envied his Oni. The group played all day. Naruto and Hinata seemed to have become really close, smiling so much that you wouldn't guess that they only just met. Menma tried to get as close to Hinata as he could without being too close to his Oni, and Akami just played happily, thankful to have another girl along. When the day finally ended and the sun was setting, painting the sky orange, their playtime was over. Hinata-chan, called a feminine voice. Ka-chan, Hinata squealed, leaping into her mother's arms. Her mother just smiled before she realized the state her little angel was in. Her clothes were dirty and her face was smudged with faded tear marks. Her hair was slightly messy, but it looked like it was fixed by someone. Hinata-chan, what happened? She asked in concern, lowering herself to her level and inspecting her daughter more. Hinata blushed as she remembered how Naruto-kun proudly protected her from those bullies. Her mother wasn't ignorant and noticed the blush instantly. Hinata-chan, what have you been up to? She smiled as she thought about what could make her girl blush like that. Hinata was fidgeting under her mother's gaze. Well, some bullies. At the mention of bullies, an almost lavender flame burned into the Hyuga mother's eyes, causing the girl to almost shout out the last bit. But Naruto-kun saved me. Hinata covered her mouth, blushing bright red at what she just shouted. Hinata-chan, Naruto shouted, running to Hinata's aid at her shout. Are you all right? He asked, looking around. Did those bullies come back? Her mother just smiled as the bruised boy looked around for anyone trying to hurt her daughter. It was obvious by his state that he fought very hard to protect her. So, you must be Naruto-kun. Hinata-chan told me you saved her from some mean bullies. Thank you so much for saving my daughter. She smiled, causing Naruto to blush as he looked at the women in curiosity. Oh, how rude of me, I'm Hitomi Hyuga, Hinata's Ka-san. She introduced herself. Naruto did the same. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and don't worry, I'll always protect Hinata-chan, that's a promise, and I never go back on my word because that's my nindo. He proclaimed, causing Hitomi to laugh. Well, please take care of my daughter. I'm sure she'll be in good hands in the future with you always by her side. She complimented, watching as her daughter squirmed at what she was implying. Yeah, don't worry, I won't let anything happen to Hinata-chan and will always be by her side to protect her. Naruto exclaimed, having no idea what his words were doing to Hinata. Oni-san, it's time to go, called his punctual Imouto. Okay, he called back. Bye Hinata-chan, I hope we can play again, he said as he left. Bye Naruto-kun, Menma and Akami, she shouted, getting waves of goodbyes from all of them. Menma was especially happy when she said his name. Hitomi gave her daughter an evil smirk. My Hinata-chan's got a new boyfriend, make sure you look after him, he's a keeper. Hinata turned bright red as thoughts of her and Naruto-kun becoming a couple in the future come to her mind. She did something which will become a longtime habit of hers. She fainted. Hitomi caught her daughter as she went limp and fell to the ground mumbling, Naruto-kun. Yep, he's definitely a keeper, Hitomi remarked before she picked up her daughter and left. Naruto was walking back, a smile on his face as he and his siblings talked about the day and their new friend. However, when they got back, they were not met with a welcome home, or at least Naruto wasn't. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, their mother shouted, scaring the hell out of triplets. They looked up in fear as the red-hot habanero was on a warpath. All the children were shaking in their boots as their mother stopped in front of Naruto. Naruto, what is the meaning of this? She shouted, pointing to 3 adults and children who were beaten up. Naruto recognized them as the bullies that attacked Hinata-chan, and his blue orbs got darker as he glared at the bullies, making them squirm. "I was told you beat these 3 boys up, is that true?" she asked. Naruto gave a nod, still giving the 3 a glare of hatred. "Naruto, apologize right now," Kushina demanded. Naruto looked at his Ka-san in surprise. "But Ka-chan," he tried to explain, but was cut off. "No, buts, young man. You can't just beat up 3 innocent boys. If this was what you would have used it for, it's a good thing you didn't start your training. You need to be more responsible, now apologize," she told the boy, having no idea what her words were doing to her son as she demanded him to apologize, not knowing what really happened. Naruto shook in hurt and anger. His Ka-chan refused to hear him out, and she reminded him about that he was excluded. But worst of all he could see was Hinata-chan's crying as she screamed for help. "No," he whispered. "What was that?" Kushina questioned, not having heard him. "No, I won't apologize when it was their own fault," he shouted, taking everyone aback. Rule number 1 in the Uzumaki Namikaze family: never, ever, make Kushina mad. Then you're grounded, and you can go to bed without dinner tonight. Their Ka-chan roared, not used to being ignored, nor shouted at. Naruto reluctantly made his way to his room, sending a glare to the bullies that promised pay back if he ever saw them again. Menma and Akami really didn't know what was going and were too scared of their Ka-chan to speak up to their Oni's defense. They weren't there to see the fight nor what the bullies did to Hinata, even if they knew about it. They watched as their Ka-chan went back to apologizing to the parents. About a month later, December 27th, Hinata became an almost unofficial member of the Namikaze family. Kushina loved having her around and visiting her old friend Hitomi. This went double for the kids, and Hinata loved being able to see Naruto every day, who kept his promise of keeping her safe despite the constant telling offs by his mother. Today was the day Hinata turned 3, and Naruto was looking forward to giving his best friend his gift. But sadly, one thing stopped him from rushing over to see Hinata straight away. "Ka-chan, do we need to go?" whined Naruto as his Ka-chan put a kimono on him. It was orange and had the Uzumaki crest on the back. "Yes, Naruto, it's an important event for the village, and as the family of the Hokage, we need to attend," his Ka-chan told him, finishing tying his kimono. "But it's Hinata-chan's birthday today," he whined again, not wanting to miss the first birthday they had as friends. "I know, but we can't miss it. These peace talks are a major event, and besides the Hyuga, who requested special permission to miss it for Hinata's birthday and integration as clan heir, everyone has to attend." Her oldest pouted at this. He really didn't want to miss Hinata-chan's birthday, and it hurt his mother to see him so down. "Tell you what, I'll see about asking Minato if we can leave early to see Hinata-chan, okay?" Naruto brightened at this. "Really, Ka-chan, we can see Hinata-chan after?" his Ototo asked with hope, having grown attached to the Hyuga as much as Naruto. Kushina just smiled. "Yes, I promise." "All right," both boys cheered. Akami giggled. She too was happy to see Hinata, but wasn't as vocal. "All right, let's go," Kushina stated. Menma and Akami each grabbed one of their Ka-chan's hands while Naruto took point. It was the standard Uzumaki Namikaze formation. The youngest protected their Ka-chan from the sides while Naruto protected both his Ka-chan and his siblings from the front. At least that's what they bragged about and made holding their Ka-chan's hands sound cool. A few minutes later, Naruto was standing next to his siblings, father and mother. The citizens of Konoha littered the streets, parted down the middle as a parade came down along with a single carriage. The carriage stopped outside the Hokage tower, and out came a man with brown hair and headband with a symbol of a cloud on it. "Greetings, Ambassador of Kumogakure. Konohagakure and the Land of Fire welcome you into our home. May this treaty bring everlasting peace." Minato smiled as he greeted the Kumo ambassador, offering his hand. "Greetings, Hokage-sama." The ambassador bowed. I too hope these peace talks go well for our countries. He shook Minato's hand, causing more cheering from the crowd behind them. I see you brought your children. His eyes landed on a pair of red-headed twins. Both felt a shiver go up their spines as the man's eyes gazed at them longer than necessary. Naruto moved in front of his Ototo and Imouto, earning a silent thank you from both. Naruto gave a small bow. Greetings Ambassador Sama, I hope you find Konoha to your liking during your stay. Naruto said slowly. He acted polite since he was taught how important it was to show respect as the Hokage's son, and his Ka-chan will give him hell if he didn't. But on the inside, he wanted to beat up the man who was giving his beloved siblings a weird look. Ah, what polite young man. I didn't know you had a third child Hokage-sama. Your red-headed twins and of course and their beautiful mother are well known in the elemental nations as the last true Uzumaki. He bowed again to Kushina, his eyes staying on her form too long for Minato's or Naruto's taste. Yes, well, Naruto here inherited my hair, but that doesn't make him any less Uzumaki. As a matter of fact, he takes after my wife the most. He told them before waving a hand inside. Now let's continue with the meeting inside, shall we? Of course. The ambassador followed Minato and his family in. Several hours later, Naruto and his siblings were mingling with the guests, mostly the other clan heirs. He didn't get along with most of them, besides the Akamichi, Nara and Inuzuka heirs. His Imouto got along with the Yamanaka heir quite fine when she wasn't fangirling over the Uchiha, and Menma seemed to get along with the silent Aburame clan, which both joined Naruto's group after he got the two silent people to join in. The Uchiha heir also joined them and he was cool, though he bragged about his Nissan way too much. Now he knows what others go through when his Ototo brags about him. It was getting late and the boy couldn't keep his mind off the one clan heir not there, Hinata-chan. He went over to his Ka-chan, who was smiling as she talked to her friends, the mothers of Konoha's clans. Ka-chan, can we go and see Hinata-chan now please? Naruto asked. It was getting late and he wouldn't be able to see her before bedtime if they don't leave now. Looking at her son, who was giving her puppy dog eyes, she gave in. Okay son, I'll go and ask To-san first. Okay, wait here. Kushina ruffled her son's hair before she went to see her husband. Minato was talking to the ambassador with his sensei Jiraiya next time. Minato-kun, Naruto wants to go and see Hinata, is it okay if we leave early? She asked, causing the three men to look at her. The ambassador seemed to give a strange look as he asked. Leaving so soon Kushina-sama? Minato was about to give the okay when his sensei put his hand on his shoulder. Minato, can I talk you for a sec? He whispered, leading Minato away while Kushina talked with the ambassador. What is it sensei? Minato asked, curious why his sensei led him away from the party. Minato, you can't let Kushina and the twins leave. The Toad Sage said in a hushed voice. Sensei, I don't understand. Minato inquired, not understanding why his family can't leave early. They only needed to attend in the first place for appearances. Damn it, Minato, don't you remember what happened to Kushina years ago? We can't risk that happening to the twins. It's better if they stay here and go home with you where they're safe. Kumo's not known for playing fair. He told his student, keeping his voice down. Minato remembered that night well. It was the night he first approached Kushina to save her from becoming Kumo's breeding stock. He also remembered the fear of almost losing her, and it was doubled at the thought of either of his children becoming Kumo's prisoners. You're right sensei. The two went back to join the party. Sorry Kushina-chan, but I think it's best you stay here with me. The party will be over in a few hours. He told his wife. Kushina was going to argue, not wanting to break her promise, but was interrupted. That's a brilliant idea Hokage-sama. It's not every day I get to hear about one of the legendary clans in the ninja world like the Uzumaki clan. The ambassador spoke up, and since she couldn't be rude and deny him, she was stuck speaking to him for the rest of the night. Another 2 hours later, Naruto waited, but his Ka-chan never came back and they stayed at the party until it was finished. Finally finished, Naruto pleaded. We can see Hinata-chan now, can't we? Kushina looked at her son sadly. It hurt so much knowing she broke her promise to him. I'm sorry Naru-chan, but it's too late now. Naruto looked sad and hurt as his Ka-chan brought herself to his level, even calling him by his affectionate nickname, hoping to lessen the blow. But, you promised. He whined. His Ka-chan never broke a promise to him before. I know, but I'll take you first thing in the morning, I promise okay. She told him, but like the one before, this too will become one of the many promises that she failed to keep. Naruto only nodded sadly, looking down and keeping quiet the rest of the trip home. It unnerved the family how quiet their knucklehead was tonight. Kushina just finished putting the triplets to bed, but as soon as his Ka-chan left his room, Naruto jumped out of bed, still fully clothed. He opened his window, looking back to his door, he whispered sadly. Sorry Ka-chan, I promised Hinata-chan I'd give her present. With those words the boy jumped out the window. Naruto arrived at the Hyuga compound in record time. Like his dad said, he was still an Uzumaki and possessed almost endless stamina. He easily snuck in through a loose brick in the wall, one that only someone his size could fit through. Once on the other side, he put the brick back so he wouldn't get caught and he made his way to Hinata-chan's room. After sneaking past half the compound that seemed unusually quiet tonight, he made it just outside Hinata-chan's room. But he saw a shadow sneaking through the garden like him. On closer inspection, he saw it was a ninja in a strange cloak. But Naruto's eyes widened in fear as he spotted the tied-up and unconscious Hinata-chan on the man's shoulders. Hinata-chan! Naruto shouted as loud as he could, startling the man as he turned to see the blonde brat. Naruto charged, shouting, What the hell have you done to Hinata-chan? The shout woke up most of the compound. The ninja turned, seeing lights coming on and footsteps heard, not concerned with the blonde brat at all. This was a big mistake, because like a blonde-haired rocket, Naruto covered the distance between him and the man in an instant. Naruto ready to punch and hit the man right below the legs, where a man's most precious treasure laid. Quote exclamation mark, you damn brat, he cursed as he held his damaged balls. After the last few months of street fighting and the momentum behind him, Naruto's punch packed quite a wallop. The man dropped the kidnapped Hyuga heiress and Naruto rushed to her side, untying the bindings. He shook Hinata, who groaned, starting to wake up. The man could clearly hear the coming Hyuga, who now knew he was here. He had to deal with the brat quickly and leave as he went through hand signs. Lightning style. Thunderbolt. He called out lighting blue lighting from his hands that headed straight to Naruto. Naruto looked at the lightning just in time to see it hit him. His whole body was shocked as it hit him and he gave a silent scream of pain as the electricity filled him, destroying his nerves and killing him. Hinata woke up just at the moment to see Naruto trying to scream in pain as blue light electrocuted him. Naruto-kun! She cried in horror as her beloved was being murdered right in front of her. Naruto, just barely conscious, struggled to look at her. He couldn't let her down. He had to protect his most precious person. I can't give up, Hinata-chan needs me. Naruto struggled, but the pain faded slowly and almost completely and for a second Naruto thought he was dead, as all traces of pain vanished. I'm sorry, Hinata-chan. As he said those thoughts, the blue lighting started moving towards his open mouth as if something was it up. The blue light entered the mouth. Both the kidnapper and Hinata watched in amazement as Naruto seemed to eat the lighting. Before they knew it, the lightning attack was gone without a trace. Blue slitted eyes glared at the man. Naruto's skin still had a few burns and his clothes were burning from the attack, but he didn't care. The pain was gone, he felt some power swell up inside him as a warmth spread from his stomach. Naruto charged, rushing the man with speed a 3-year-old shouldn't possess. With a glowing yellow hand of what looked to be enveloped in lighting, Naruto punched the man in the balls a second time. The force and power behind it tripled the power of his first punch. The electricity around his hand entered the man, destroying any hope of ever having children and causing unimaginable pain as it stimulated the nerves. The man gave an ear-piercing scream that was heard all throughout the village. Ah! The man collapsed, his mind unable to handle the pain, or loss of his manhood. Naruto looked at the man with a grin. He had no idea what happened, but he had done it. He protected Hinata-chan. The power that filled him left and he dropped to the ground exhausted. He was caught by a crying Hinata who hugged him with a death grip. Naruto-kun, I thought, I lost you. She cried into his shoulder. Naruto struggled to return her hug and try to reassure her. There Hinata-chan. I'm okay, I promise. The girl just kept crying. Hiashi and the rest of the Hyuga clan arrived at the scene, surprised to see the children and the downed man. Seeing Naruto was most likely injured, he ordered, "Get the children to safety and give them medical attention now." He barked out and 2 branch members moved in. Naruto picked up a small box that fell out of his pocket when he was hit. He and Hinata were taken to the clan doctor. Hiashi and his brother approached the downed man, turning him over. They removed the mask, only to see brown hair and beard. "Oni-sama this is," his brother started, but he cut him off. "Get Hokage-sama immediately and tell him what happened and that his child is here," he ordered his brother, who left straight to the Hokage's house. "Arrest this man now and make sure he can't escape," he ordered, and 2 more branch members took the intruder away. Hisashi arrived at the Hokage's residence and rang the doorbell a few times. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. "What?" both Kushina and Minato shouted in their night clothes and bed hair. Hisashi had to struggle not to look at Kushina's revealing nightgown that was transparent and showed her developed in curves. "Hisashi, you better have a good reason for waking us up at this late hour or else," she growled, keeping the man focused. "Yes, Kushina-sama, there's been an incident at the Hyuga compound and your son was involved." Both parents looked confused for a moment before Kushina ran up the stairs and slammed open all the children's rooms, waking them up, but stopped cold when she got to the last one. "Naruto's gone," she screamed. Both Minato and Kushina left, but not before calling Anbu to look after their children. Kushina arrived at the Hyuga compound to see her son being cared over by Hitomi and a sleeping Hinata that clung to him like a lifeline. She noticed the bandages wrapped around him, making him almost look like a mummy. In a rage, Kushina charged up to her son. "Hey Ka-chan," Naruto stated, before his angry Ka-chan slapped him across the face. "What were you thinking sneaking out?" she cried, tears staining her face. She was terrified when she found him missing, even more so when she saw him banged up like he was in a battle. Both Hitomi and Hinata, who woke up, watched horrified as Naruto cried, rubbing his red cheek. He had never been hit by his Ka-chan before. "BBU but, K-Ka-chan, I. No, buts, get back to the house this instant," she shouted, trying to grab him and take him where she can keep him safe. Naruto recoiled, scared after he was hit. He leaned into Hinata, who was comforting him. Kushina was about to pry Naruto away when, "Kushina, I think it would be best if Naruto stays tonight." Hitomi tried to calm down the emotional mother. "But," she stammered, still crying. "No buts, you're too emotional right now and Naruto's fine with us, come back tomorrow and we'll explain what happened." Kushina was about to argue when sniffling reached her ears. Sniff, sniff. Looking behind Hitomi, she saw a shivering Naruto crying into Hinata's shoulder. A pit in her stomach sank as the realization hit her like lead, as she hit her own son, her pride and joy. Covering her mouth in horror, more tears started to fall because of what she did. "Naruto-chan, I'm so sorry." She tried to reach for him, but Naruto shuffled closer to Hinata in fear. Hitomi put her hand on her friend's shoulder. Kushina was destroyed after seeing her own son so fearful of her. Giving her friend a pained glance, Hitomi just shook her head. "No, already knowing what Kushina was going to ask. Kushina left the room, not another word said, not knowing how to fix things and was afraid of what tomorrow would bring. "Naru-chan, please forgive me," she silently pleaded, tears falling as she made her way back home. Minato glared at the ambassador of Kumo. He was pissed. This man almost killed his son and tried to kidnap an innocent child. Take him to Ibiki and Inoichi. Tell them to get every last drop of information from him in the most painful way possible. He growled out, leaving the room in silence. But he forgot one important fact: how did his son take out a Jonin? The Yondaime Hokage never once questioning what actually happened that night. After Kushina's outburst, Naruto cried for a while, clinging to Hinata, who was comforting him the whole time. Eventually the two children went to bed together. "Ka-chan, I'm sorry, I just wanted to give Hinata-chan her present." The young boy was upset, thinking that his Ka-chan may hate him now. He was afraid to lose her. "Naruto-kun." Hinata's sweet voice broke him out of his thoughts. His blue eyes, red from crying, looked into Hinata's lavender orbs. "You did nothing wrong. Kushina-san was just worried for you. I'm sure it will all be right," she told him, calming the boy down a little. And she leaned closer, causing the boy to blush as he felt something wonderfully soft touch his cheek and causing tingling sensation. Thank you for saving me." She blushed, having just kissed the boy she really liked on the cheek. Her blonde savior was blushing up a storm, never having anyone but his Ka-chan and a few times his Imouto kiss him on the cheek. The boy gulped, one hand touching his still tingling cheek. "And no problem, Hinata-chan. I'll always protect you," he stuttered out, embarrassed. He felt his heart racing suddenly as Hinata gave him a heartfelt smile of thanks. "What's happening? What's this strange feeling?" he thought, feeling such a new sensation for the first time. Watching as Hinata closed her eyes, he couldn't help but admire how beautiful she was. Her face was round, her smooth skin glowed a pale silver, like starlight. The moonlight hit her, showing all her feminine features. Her silky midnight blue hair did the same, and his eyes must have been deceiving him because he could have sworn he saw lavender sparkles coming from it. Thump, 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 thump. He tried to control his eccentric heart, but it just beats faster and faster as he gazed at the girl's ethereal beauty before him. "Hinata-chan, you're so beautiful." He gazed at her in admiration, until he remembered the original reason he came to her tonight. "Stupid, you still need to give her present." As his inner voice reminded him, his hand was making its way into his pocket where a small lavender box was kept. "Hinata-chan, you still awake?" he asked shyly with a bit of worry. "Why? Yeah, I'm awake." "Yawn," Hinata mumbled, half asleep. "Well, I still haven't given you your present yet," he told her. Hinata's eyes opened as Naruto pulled out a small lavender box. Looking at it, Hinata's eyes went to Naruto-kun, who nodded silently, telling her to take it. Hinata took the small box, touched that the boy she only knew for about a month bought her a present. Even more so when she realized it was the original reason he came out tonight. Opening the box, her mouth flew open, gasping in surprise at what she saw. It was a wonderful necklace, that was probably one of the most beautiful things she saw. "Happy birthday, Hinata-chan," he smiled as the girl stared in shock at the present. It was spherical with a slight oval shape, a small piece of string completing it. But the necklace was made out of gemstones with a red ruby cut into the Uzumaki spiral. But that wasn't the most surprising thing about it, because on the front along with the ruby, was a crescent moon made of purple sapphire. It was cut perfectly so it fitted with the ruby Uzumaki spiral. Picking it up to examine more clearly, she notices that the main part of the necklace was thicker than she thought. Turning the necklace around, there was a sun made of orange topaz. Like the moon on the front, it was cut so it fit perfectly into the center of the ruby, but in the center, a contrast of the orange was the bright red of another ruby stone, cut into the shape of the Hyuga flame. "And Naruto-kun, it's beautiful." She stuttered in astonishment. The necklace in front of her would have, "Oh Kami-sama. This must have cost a fortune, why you didn't need to spend that much on," she was cut off by Naruto. "Don't worry, I got a lot of money for my birthday since Ka-chan and Tu-san couldn't buy me anything special since I wasn't joining in on the training," he told her smiling, which made it worse for the girl. As heir to the noble Hyuga clan, she could tell this was one of the most expensive things she's ever seen, and it would have had to be custom bought to get it cut like this. One part of her was delighted over the fact her Naruto-kun spent so much for her. The other part, however, couldn't help but feel incredibly guilty that he spent so much of his money on her. "And Naruto-kun, I don't," she was once more cut off. "Hinata-chan, that is a present from me to you. If you don't accept it, then it would have been such a waste since I had it made with you in mind. If you really want to thank me for it, then wear it and show me how beautiful it looks on you." He smiled, causing the girl to blush at what he was implying. She handed Naruto the necklace and he was about to protest but was cut off. He put it on me, Naruto-kun." The boy took the offered necklace, nodding dumbly. Making his way behind the girl's neck, he clicked the necklace into place. Both children were blushing madly as their faces almost touched, an inch closer and they would have shared their first kiss together. Backing away, Naruto put his hand over his heart that was beating a million times faster than before. Picking up the necklace once more from around her neck, Hinata smiled even more with a pink blush. It warmed the boy's heart seeing her so happy. Deciding to be brave, Hinata shouted, "I love it," while jumping into Naruto's arms. The boy was blushing madly as he hugged Hinata back, smelling her lavender scent as he resisted the urge to bury his face into her hair. Noticing after a few minutes Hinata didn't move, he looked down to see her asleep, smiling blissfully. Smiling peacefully himself, he got comfortable with the blue-haired beauty in his arms. As the boy drifted off to sleep, Hinata's smile got wider as she snuggled into her Naruto-kun, more delighted that her plan worked. In a black void, a rainbow-colored orb glowed behind a cage with seal on it. It just floated there with what looked like water below reflected back the orb's light. The orb was still before a spark of yellow electricity circled around the orb,